Loneliness is a killer. While smartphones and social media have definitely worsened the problem, I think there is a bigger force isolating us. No matter how much we adjust our individual behavior, if the system is the culprit, we will never truly be happy. Welcome to Collecting Bugs, I'm Tia. The bug of the week is the Hercules beetle. It's the beetle that looks like a rhinoceros. It is the longest beetle, and it can carry 850 times its weight, making it the strongest creature on Earth for its size. Give it up for the Hercules beetle. So I wanted to start right off the bat with a little a little bit of a reality check, because obviously since launching the podcast, I've gotten some hate, and I guess I just wanted to quickly address it. I know speaking radically about capitalism makes it easier for people to just write me off as like a crazy communist. I expect that. It's not gonna stop me. But the main theme of the comments I've been getting is the idea that pushing blame onto the system, onto the economy, whoever, whatever, is a way of shirking responsibility for your own life and your own situation. It's seen as a weakness to point fingers at capitalism. You're victimizing yourself by criticizing the government. And it's so important to address in this episode specifically because it all ties into this idea of hyper-individualism, which I'm gonna get into. And while I'm not gonna knock anyone for their opinion of the show, like who cares? There are plenty of people who do like it, but I do have a problem with people brazenly claiming that the system has zero effect on our lives and our actions and behaviors are the sole contributors to our life's circumstances. If that were true, we would not be able to literally predict your lifetime income, not based on your work ethic, but based on the zip code you were born in and how much your parents make. Your birth circumstances, something you had zero control over, are the biggest contributors to your financial success. Be fucking for real. Like, I'm not gonna act like it doesn't affect the quality of my life, like it has no effect on my life whatsoever. Just consider for a moment that someone might be benefiting from you thinking that way. And that's not me saying if you're a capitalist that I'm right and you're wrong. There's room for everyone's opinion. But the way these people viciously attack me for even insinuating that our society is the problem, like, you have Stockholm syndrome. Women just decided to get paid less. It's a coincidence that Black Americans have worse water quality. Transgender people just happen to be more likely to be victims of homicide. Like, give me a fucking break. Anyway, today we're discussing hyper-individualism and how it contributes to, if not caused, the loneliness epidemic. When we think about how isolated we are, of course our minds now go to COVID, which certainly made a huge impact. But according to a survey done in 2018, nearly half of the US population reported feeling lonely. And most of the time, when we see loneliness being reported on, the blame falls on individuals for not reaching out to family enough or being on that damn phone too much. No one goes to church anymore. We're all just a bunch of lonely atheists and we deserve it. It's all centered around individual action. You can solve your loneliness yourself. And of course, I'm not relinquishing you of personal responsibility. There are lots of things we can do to feel less lonely. And if you feel that way, I encourage you to reach out to loved ones. But that's oversimplified and very misleading. In fact, I think that idea just separates us even further. In episode 5, we discussed the hedonic treadmill and how simple pleasures, hedonistic moments of joy, are essential to lifelong happiness. Greek philosopher Epicurus thought the same, that the pursuit of simple pleasures is what brings us happiness. But after Christianity rose in the West, the pursuit of hedonistic pleasure fell to the wayside, as well as virtue-based morality. Happiness only came after death if you sacrificed during your life. You delay gratification and then you spend eternity in heaven. Not a bad deal. But then, after the Enlightenment and the rise of capitalism, the West was dominated by self-fulfillment. Happiness became a God-given right. In the 50s, we see where our current idea of happiness came from. Authenticity and personal freedom were the main values of the counterculture movement at the time. Carl Cederstrom, author of The Happiness Fantasy, says this about our shifting views of happiness. You can see happiness as reflecting the accepted values during a particular era, and those values evolve over time. So there's always a strong connection between popular morality and how we think of happiness. So we went from Freud, who thought humans weren't designed for happiness, to believing it is something that we are entitled to and can fully achieve. And now when we think about happiness, we think about personal liberation and living an authentic life, which of course is very romantic, but it's a very individualistic mindset. Where did it come from? Well, like all good things, capitalists came and exploited it. This time, it being the counterculture movement. Yes, the same counterculture movement run by naked anti-corporatist hippies. President Reagan and Margaret Thatcher hold some responsibility for this just based off of their views and how they would speak to happiness as freedom and inner development. Reagan is quoted as saying, "Government is the problem, never the solution." And Thatcher, "There is no such thing as a society." Do you see how they were able to tie this into the American dream? Into this idea of upward mobility and climbing the corporate ladder based on hard work and virtue alone, which we already established by far does not have the biggest impact on your success. Anyway, advertising shifted, how companies portrayed their messaging shifted, and the movement was co-opted. No matter how genuine and positive the movement may have been, it was manipulated into yet another way to make us better consumers. So capitalists have a motive to perpetuate this individualistic idea of happiness. But what's wrong with it? What's wrong with focusing on self-fulfillment? Well, we are statistically unhappier than ever. So it's obviously not working. Also, consider the way our lives are designed to make us lonely. Starting with the job market, we are constantly in competition with one another. You need to be the best worker so you aren't shit-canned when taxes go up or the company goes under or whatever it is. Did you know? Very not fun fact. In order for a capitalist system to work, there needs to be a portion of the population that is unemployed. Look it up. It's called the natural rate of unemployment. Capitalists say it's just what happens. It's nobody's fault. It's just a trend that we see for no reason. But there needs to be unemployed people because there needs to be people desperate for work, people willing to accept less so they can make the company more money. Even if you're on a team, you're still competing. Even open concept office layouts keep you in a cubicle. My building is probably 500 people in it at a time, and most days I walk in and out without speaking to a single person. Now let's consider where we live. Our environment only keeps us trapped in the hamster wheel of work, spend, repeat. Our cities and suburbs have transformed into places for capital, not people. Think about it. Most of the time we're either at home, at a store, or at work. We are either consuming, spending, or working. We spend most of our waking hours donating our time, attention, and money to make the rich richer, and only steal a few moments away to spend time with family, be in nature, or do anything actually enriching. And when we do take a day to ourselves, we feel like we're doing something wrong because we're not being productive. Even our free time is hijacked by capitalist programming. And in the self-help space, oh my God. Even just now, I did a quick search just to see what would come up, and it was all how to get ahead of the 99%, how to get ahead of other people your age, how to get ahead in your 20s, how to beat the competition. It's the fucking Hunger Games. It is the Hunger Games. We are all out for ourselves. Not because we want to be, but because we have to be. So yeah, focus on yourself. Better yourself so you can be more efficient. So you can be a better worker, a better consumer, make more money, so you can spend more money, so you can try and combat this deep loneliness that's only being caused by what you're trying to fix it with. Like trying to mop a dirty floor with a dirty mop and dirty water. We need to have a more collective approach to happiness. What we see a lot when someone has that individualistic view of happiness is they neglect the relationships in their life to pursue their goals and focus on themselves, even though connection and meaningful relationships seem to be the most important markers of fulfilled, happy lives. Again, dirty mop, dirtier floor. This is what I'm all about. Misplaced energy. We can take some, not all, if it'll kill you, but some of that energy being so focused on ourselves and our own self-development, self-help, and use it to cultivate genuine connections and nurture the connections that we're already so lucky to have. And we can shift the way we view success. Under capitalism, success is defined as stomping on the competition, getting ahead of everyone else, being at the top. It doesn't need to be like that. Just because other people say that's what success is, doesn't mean that's what your version of success is. What is your version of success? Something that helps me a lot is deciding what is success to me. Not success in a way that fuels capitalism, but success in how will I feel like I have a successful life. So not being rich necessarily. If you're successful but you view everyone else as competition, I'm sorry, that is such a lonely life. It takes a village to raise a child, right? I'm not interested in that kind of success. Also, just based on the research that's been done about our current view of happiness, most of the time it's being perpetuated by men. Male voices, men defining happiness and self-fulfillment and self-development. What is pleasure to them? What is fulfillment to them? Which of course is only half the population. Being more focused on empathy, vulnerability, not just how can I be perfect? How can I operate more efficiently? How can I be the best version of myself? And shifting that to the present moment and kind of everyone around us. How can we be a better world? kumbaya, fucking. Again, two things can be true at once. I think you can care about self-development, but still have your view of success and happiness be centered around the collective, perpetuating collective consciousness instead of individualism. And going back to when we were talking about how happiness reflects the values of that time, if we have a more collective consciousness, then we may have a fundamental shift in values, which will redefine happiness for the next generations. Or whatever. Okay, that's really all I had to say. Follow the podcast at Collecting Bugs Podcast on Instagram. Also, I don't really promote this, but I'm gonna try. I do have a Patreon. It's in the description. $1 a month if you would like to support the podcast. Rate me 5 stars on whatever listening platform you're on. And let me know what you want me to talk about next. And thanks for joining me today and every Tuesday. I will talk to you next week. Okay, bye.